Alright, in previous videos we went through VTP version 1 and 2, and in this video we are going to address VTP version 3 on Cisco devices. Alright, first in this video we're going to look at the VTP version 3 enhancements over the previous versions, and then we're going to hop over to GNS3 and demonstrate the configuration and do a lab demo. Alright, VTP version 3 enhancements. The big one is that it fixes the configuration revision overwrite problem that we addressed in the previous video. This is where you place a new switch onto the network that has a completely different VLAN database, but it has a higher configuration revision number, and then it wipes out all the VLANs that were previously configured in the VTP domain. There's also new advertisements that are now advertised with the VTP protocol that were not previously advertised in versions 1 and 2. That includes extended VLANs, private VLANs, and MST configuration information as well. And on version 3, VTP can also be disabled both globally, meaning that the switch would not run VTP at all, or on a per link basis if you wanted to run VTP on some of its interfaces and not others. All right, so now we are out here on GNS3. We have the same topology that we built in the previous video. I do have the configuration for everything here on the left, and I do think it's going to fit in the description, so it should all be down there. In the previous video, we configured trunking between all of the switches, and we configured basic VTP information. So I'm going to have all that configuration in there. Even though it's already been applied, the only configuration that we're actually going to implement in this video is going to be this right here under this section of new. And at the end of the previous video, we brought in this switch 5 as a new switch that had a completely different VLAN database that had a higher configuration number, and it wiped out all the VLANs on the other switches other than switch 3, because switch 3 is in transparent mode, which means it still is going to have this VLAN database. So if we look at switch 3, I've got the show Vlan Brief pulled up, and you can see that it has the 4 VLANs defined locally, while all the other switches, show Vlan Brief, well, all the other switches have these VLANs here. All right, so the first step is going to be converting all of the switches to VTP version 3, and that's done with just this command here, and then we're going to exit back out. All right, now if we want to look at the VTP status of these devices, show VTP status, we can see that the VTP version is now running 3. We can also look at the operational mode is server. And we're not going to do anything with this in this video just because we're going to keep it to VLANs only, but it also carries multiple spanning tree information as well. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is make switch 1 the primary server. Whereas in the previous versions of VTP, you could have multiple servers that create VLANs. The new enhancement with VTP version 3 is that you can only have one primary server that's actually allowed to create VLANs, and it makes you go through a process where you basically elect that device to be the primary server, and then the protocol goes through a process and makes sure that it is the only server that is the primary server. And the way that you do that is with the VTP primary command. I'll set the question mark real quick. So you can use an option to force, and I'll show you that in 1 second. Or you can just hit enter with VTP primary, and that's going to assume that you wanted to do it just for VLANs. But you can declare primary for MST as well. So we'll do VTP primary VLAN. And it says this system is becoming primary server for feature VLAN. And you can see that it went through a process. No conflicting VTP 3 devices were found. And then it makes you hit enter one more time to confirm that you want to continue. So we'll hit OK. And now this one is allowed to create VLANs. And you can see the other switches are getting these update messages through VTP, now recognizing that this switch, showing that switch 1 is indeed the primary VTP server and allowed to create VLANs. All right, so just real quick, I'll show you what Vtp Primary Force does. All right, so Vtp Primary Force basically allows you to skip that process where it goes out and checks to see if there's another Vtp primary server in the domain. And if there is one, then it changes it so that switch 1 is the VTP primary. So if we went to switch 2 and then said Vtp Primary Force, it will then say this system is becoming the primary server for feature VLAN, show VTP status. Now it has the operating mode of primary server, and switch 1 does not. And if we put it back into switch 1, then we'll make switch 1 back to the primary server. Show VTP status. Now it has the operating mode of primary server, and we'll look at the VTP status on switch 2, and it's back to just server. All right, so then let's fix the VLAN issue that we had from the last video. And so we're going to use our primary server to recreate these VLANs here. And we're going to remove all of the VLANs that we do not want. All right, so first let's look at Vlan Brief. All right, we can see now that we have only these VLANs that we want here, and let's check all the rest of the switches. All right, and then this, of course, still has the 4 VLANs because they're created locally. It has 3 new VLANs. And then switch 5 as well. All right, so there is other features that we could go through with VTP version 3, but given that this is a video designed for CCNA, and VTP has been really de-emphasized and removed for the most part from that exam, we're just gonna leave it right here and move on to the next topic. This is just one video in a much larger series of GNS3 labs for the CCNA exam. So if you found this helpful, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.